Hey, man, what you up to?
Well, I was going to see what was on your mind today, on a Monday.
On a Monday? Well, it's Monday. The Ukraine's being attacked and the world's going crazy. And hey, but it's an awesome, pretty day. We ain't got no clouds here in South Arkansas. So that's pretty much where I'm at on Monday. How about yourself, brother?
Well, I'm driving along in our South Arkansas vehicles, a four-wheel drive, 62 degrees and sunshiny on a beautiful last day of February, isn't it?
Yeah. This ain't a leap year, I don't believe.
No, it's the last day of February. So that means that, we're like within just a couple of weeks of spring,
14 to 21 days, something like that. I'd have to look at a calendar.
Yeah, maybe 20 days, like 19 days after tomorrow, after today. Yeah.
Oh, man, They can't come quick enough, right?
Oh, man. This time of year is kind of my favorite. Of course, I like fall better, but this is one of my favorites as well. I like any day that I'm 6 feet above as opposed to 6 feet below the ground,
Well, yeah, if you're above ground and moving air, that's always a positive, regardless of the rest.
Yeah, I can handle moving air above ground. But this time of year, though, it's like if everything has been brown and dead for a long time, and you start seeing stuff pop out, I hear frogs in your background there. I don't know if we'll be able to hear them later on if we produce this. But it's that time of year where everything's coming alive, so that's always interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's always great whenever, the renewal of life. I mean, the yin and yang, dark, light. I mean, you can pick which side is what, but just that renewal. I mean, things start coming back to life. The skies ain't always so gray and dreary like it's most times it is in winter and stuff. And so, it lightens up everybody's attitude. You get that fresh air. It ain't too cold, ain't too hot, just about right. The only thing about here is, we're in the perfect spot. So we get a little bit of spring, which is awesome, and then it's summer. And then it's just summer. And then a tiny slice of fall, which is awesome. And then it's winter and just misery and woe is me. In terms of, emotional, because thankfully we don't get a lot of snow. We do get nice stuff. I mean, we used to get all kinds of freezing rain. It was horrible. But, hey, it's always that renewal. Everything's waking up, so it's good to hear. It's good to see. Well, that is until I think my cat brought me a present. I have a field rat laying here with its neck about half tore open.
Maybe
there's the death.
Maybe you hadn't fed him in a couple of days. He's thinking you're hungry.
No, I think he's just bringing me a present because he's looking at me funny. But hey, man, that's the perfect example. It's a circle of life in terms of that, I was talking to a friend of mine here the other day, and we were just talking about the difference between GenX and Gen Z, and we're talking about our parents are getting older. What we're going to do, take care of them, just general life discussions, right? Well, and his son's having some problems, and, we were discussing things, and we were talking about how at one point, and I know me and you had talked about this once before, that, we reached a turning point at a certain point in life that we didn't know what we wanted to do when we grew up, but we did know there was that point we had to make a tiny step. We had to make a tiny change, in life, to slowly put your childish stuff behind you. Maybe not all of it, but a little bit of it, and address the issues and move forward. And, he was having problems just talking about his kids and junk. And it was just a really interesting discussion. What do you think about that, man?
Well, I remember me and you being down in Florida on our senior trip and had a very similar conversation. We're sitting there, in a restaurant eating very nice food, shrimp and whatever else we were eating, and all of our compadres were out drunk, throwing shit out of a window. You know, we were sitting there going, "Oh my God, man, our lives are about to change for the different." You know. So yeah, I know that. I remember that feeling. You know, of it's like a rite of passage. It's like you're changing. You're going from just being this, like I was talking about with Delphi the other day about the murder being an amorphous blob. It's like you're going from being an amorphous blob in childhood to being your own thing, to being your own organism with more of a free will and your decisions about yourself really mattering for the long run. So yeah, I think I remember what you're talking about. Is that kind of what you're talking about, or what do you think?
Oh yeah. I mean, because we did the small town, country, back roads, bonfires, back trucks, beer drinking. I mean, we did all that stuff when we were, in teenage years. We might have been a little underage at some point, but neither here nor there. But yeah, that is what it is. We did those things, and right as we got out of high school, we kind of, I guess, matured just enough to, okay, well, we realized that we got to quit doing these things. We can still do them, but we got to stop doing so many of them and make a decision of, am I going to go back to school? Am I going to get a job? Well, if I know myself, and you know how it is, if you really want to have a concern for yourself, you can only raise your kids to a certain point, and after that, it's kind of ad hoc. You've instilled all those benefits. Everything else is advice. And if you want to instill that, you tell them, say, well, look, the best thing you do is if you go get a job, you're most likely going to get in debt, get stuck, and not be able to go back to school. The best thing to do is just go on back to school. And so that's kind of where we were. And that's what I was saying. Is, we went on that senior trip, and we had those few discussions, and it did flip a little switch. Everybody else was piled up, building towers out of cans, and me and you sitting there going, you want to go down to the restaurant and eat? I bet we gained 25 pounds, man, just because we didn't do that. I don't know. It was just interesting. At that point, there was a tiny switch flip. The light bulb came on, and we took a tiny step into adulthood. And I'm disappointed that we don't see more of these younger kids today, the Gen Z or whatever, doing the same thing. And I'm not for sure if it's lack of father figures or lack of discussion or just too much input from everything else because of the difference between Gen X and Gen Z. I'm not for sure. I mean, hey, all you can do is, put it out there and try to help somebody, right?
Well, I mean, I agree with that. Of course, a lot of that is just timing. And of course, like with us, we grew up in a totally different period. But there's still, there's a lot of those kids that are good that I see doing. Now, everybody's going to make mistakes, But I don't know about you, but it just seemed to me that maybe it was because the rate of social change was so different on us back then that it seemed like to me, though, that childhood lasted for 60 years. It was like I was ready to change. I was so tired whenever me and you by the time we got down to Kissimmee or Orlando, Florida, or wherever we were at during that conversation. I mean, it had been forever. It felt like we'd been in childhood. I mean, we met in like 76 or 1976, and had been friends for almost, basically 20 years. I mean, 15 years. 15 years, 12 years, 13 years, 15 years, a long time, for a decade. And at that time in school, it seemed like forever. And I don't know if they have that now because everything is always permanent. I don't know. I do know that it seems like the rate of social changes has sped up. It's like we're at a quickening now. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, we were ready for a change, and now there's so much change all the time. There's so many distractions, TikTok, Facebook. I mean, and I'm not downing them. That is a individual's choice, but I do think the distractions are the detracting from some of the figuring out what they think and want to do because they're going, well, I might want to be an electrician. Hey, look at us over here. We got openings for carpentry. Oh, well, maybe a carpenter. And now that's a very poor example, but it's just squirrel, distraction. You know, I mean, you know, and hell, that leads into a whole nother topic of ADHD, and is it real or is it just a cultural thing? Because look at it. It's flashcards. Every day it's flash, 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 flash. No, you know, the same stories repeated over and over. But yeah, distraction, distraction, distraction. But anyway,
I couldn't even imagine have grown up in that in this now. I mean, just we're one of the topics we were looking at the other day was just having. I was going to watch the Super Bowl game, and I hadn't had cable or satellite in the house since 2010. But it was like we were talking about, okay, we'll go get one of those little in-house antennas. Growing up, that's all we had. I mean, whenever I was a kid, from up until at least 85 or 86 before we got the satellite dish, it was like a big one. It was like 8 foot tall, wide. It was a huge thing. It wasn't a little bitty thing like you get now. But before then, I mean, I got 2 channels. I got PBS and I got channel 10, which is NBC. That's it. My grandparents, 20 feet over, had some kind of a thing going on where they got 2 extra channels, so they got 4 channels over there. They got CBS and ABC in addition to NBC and PBS. So
their antenna was better than yours.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, that's what it was, because I still remember my grandparents. I mean, the house I'm currently living in. We had a little antenna, and we would raise the window and reach out there and twist it with your hand. While watching the channel. We go, a little more to the left. Oh, too far, go back. Then you got the motorized ones. We only had 3 or 4. But hey, it's a rural area. You remember we never even watched MTV. I mean, I think videos were going off of MTV by the time we could watch them. We had Friday night videos like on KTVE or
NBC. Yes.
Yeah,
it was NBC, Friday night videos. And you had to stay up to 1 a.m. on Saturday morning or Friday night to watch a video,
and that was just the time frame we were raised in. We saw so much change, but it was the gradual Moore's Law type change. Technology doubles every 10 years. We actually lived through the proving of Moore's Law. They're getting born with the attitude of, well, it didn't happen in my lifetime, so it didn't happen. Because going back to the growing up thing, if you don't learn from your previous mistakes, you're going to make them again. You take a step down a path that blows up in your face. Well, how about step back, turn in the other direction, and take another step, but in a different direction? And oh man, it's crazy.
I just remember like getting out of school and I'd ride a bus home. Typically, we're talking about elementary school, and you get home by. I was one of the first ones off the bus. I got off the bus around 3:30, 3:35. 4 o'clock, something was coming on television. So I got home, got a snack ready, maybe go inside real quick. It just seemed like it lasted forever. I don't know. We would get home and like watch a little bit of television, have a snack, and usually it would be like Grizzly Adams or what's that? Oh my Lord, with the Prairie. What's it called? Little House on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie, Grizzly Adams, Dukes of Hazzard came on for a while. But now, let's clarify for anybody who happens to hear this, if this gets published. We're talking about our class started at kindergarten with 45 students. That was the whole class. And as we moved all the way up from K through 12, it stayed around 28 to 32 students. After it got down, we lost them first few. So we're not talking a huge school here. This is a rural area. We're almost Little House on the Prairie. If you look at today's, if you look at today's standards for what we were Little House on the Prairie. But I tell you what, we had the individual attention. We knew everybody in our class. Whether we liked them or not, we knew them. There was advantages to it. So, hey, I almost feel bad for a lot of suburban and folks that are like, well, how many's your graduating class? 504. Crap. No, I ain't down to none of that.
It was like 31 or 33 by the time we officially graduated. Or I don't think all of those people graduated, but that was the whole class. Like the people that walked and all, 31 or 33 or something. Just very small.
Yeah, it was. It was just, I remember in kindergarten, I don't even know why I remember this. I looked it up way back for some reason. We had 45 students in kindergarten. We lost a few,
right.
But our numbers never dropped below 28 all the way through. And I think the graduation
we had the biggest class.
33. Yes, we had the biggest class since like 1968,
whatever.
I think. Yeah, it was something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
But now that's tiny compared to these urban places, you know. So, man, we might be real delusional about some of this crap, but it was a great experience, you know. There was fights, there was scrap, and there was everything, but overall, I can't complain too terribly much. You know?
Man, I look back at my early educational experiences at that little school with glee. I mean, you know, through college and grad, all that stuff. The stuff I learned back then with that one-on-one type, great. We had some of those teachers that were just, I just can't even comprehend. We learned the old and the new way of doing things. I mean, it was just, it was.
Well, you know, I think a lot of it.
My memories of it, utopian.
Oh, well, it really was, because a lot of it was, you know, we were still in that time. Again, this is that GenX, Gen Z. We were still in that time, our school was small enough that we had teachers that really wanted, you know, we had teachers that had like PhDs. You remember Mr. Kaysen that took over after Mr. Franklin? You know, he had like a PhD in, you know, physics. And he was in there teaching high school physics. I mean, we had the caliber of people that was really there because they liked teaching. They liked passing on to the next generation. You know, and that's kind of where I figure, you know, we figured out our pass it on, you know. If you could pass on an experience, do it. Share an experience. You know, and we had a utopian experience at school.
As we got older, a lot of the people that we had were like Mr. Kaysen. They were people that had degrees in a career field and not just a teacher career field. In other words, they were a journalist or they were.
Yeah, we had professor grade teachers the last few years that we graduated. I mean, Mr. Kaysen, Miss Winstead had a literary thing. You remember her? She was the Spanish teacher and science, literacy teacher. Then, of course, Miss Woods and, you know, 2 or 3 others there. They had degrees, not just in teaching. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. We had a great advantage there.
Yeah, we did. Of course, you know, and we also had trades training. You know, all of us had to take home economics, and all of us had to take agriculture and shop and building stuff and welding and hammers.
Yeah. So
we all cooked in home ec. We all sewed. I mean, you had to sew a pair of shorts to pass the class.
Yeah, I know, right?
You had to learn how to wash clothes and wash dishes and cook. You had to cook a hamburger. I mean, you know.
More.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty big. I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah, but, I mean, you know, now, again, I also kind of get this, but I don't in some ways, is, you know, we had to learn how to write a check, address an envelope, properly address a proper letter, you know, I mean, just little stuff like that you don't use as such, but you do. I mean, look at emails. If you do proper correspondence, you got to know how to make a proper letter. If you ain't got a Word with that template to just slap that information in there, you don't have a clue. But there's lots of little life things that are missing.
Oh, man, and I grant you this, you know, there's 2 things I want to talk about real quick. Number one is that, you know, we were involved with journalism, and the yearbook staff had to go out and sell ads. We had to learn about typesetting. We had to write a paper. I mean, in English, then it was basically your thesis, like, you know, like your bachelor's thesis or your master's thesis. We had to write one of those, a big paper, 20 pages long, in high school, to graduate high school with English, high school English. I mean, and I don't think they have to do that now, which blows me away.
It was your graduating theme paper. I think I did mine on Einstein.
I did mine on alcoholism.
Yeah, you're right. I remember that.
Yeah, and I remember yours too. Of course, you know, of course, we had to go deep. We had to have 6 sources, I believe it was. I mean, it was basically a paper. It was harder than the stuff that I got to do when I was in college.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, you know,
they wanted the footnotes and the resource notes,
everything,
and the resource appendixes, the outline. I mean, I can't believe I even remember half these words.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah,
you had to present all that stuff in separate, and then as a one big whole thing where you had to go back and type it. You know, and I mean, and type it. It was different than it is now. I mean, you had to use a typewriter.
Yeah. You could not use a word processor. They did not. Yeah, that crap didn't happen because no, you can't learn to do that because you can fix it. We had to type it, and I remember we had to have a summation letter. It was a summation of the story of what we said that had to cover all the points. Cover letter, resource letter, outline, all the way down through. And I remember thinking, Jesus.
Yeah.
Hey, it kind of turned me off college because if I thought it was that hard in high school, I didn't want to finish my college stuff.
Yeah. Well, with me, I went straight to it. By the time I got to freshman comp, I blew that stuff out of the way, man, because we'd already done it, you know.
Yeah.
And but now I tell you this too, that was a different world. I mean, they talk about like now they talk about like an AP class or whatever else. We were basically all of us were in AP classes. There were some that had to go to. Now they got all kinds of things, but there's they call them pullouts now. But yeah, so we had a thorough education, I believe, and I think that, and it may even been there. I think there's a sweet spot in American education, and we came along at a really great time. And not only that, but the county where we grew up had a lot of natural resources, and there was a lot of money all through the county. And if you grew up and went to school in Crossett, I mean, hell, they had some really great people come out of there too. They had a lot of money for their school.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've had an amazing turnout for the area, but the reason I was pointing out us is yes, it is our school, but when you look at the people who went through those grades, it only went 3 more graduating classes before they shut the school down and consolidated with Hamburg over there.
They shut it down in well, it's probably about 14 years later. I think they shut it down in 2003, something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a lot more than I thought then. But neither here nor there. I mean, it was still small enough that they spent the money then. Now, I think not long after we left, and I guess that's where I was getting the 3 or 4 years, it started declining a lot. If you look at the 300, 400 graduating students across it, you had, let's say, 10%. So, 40 of them. Let's say it's 400, so you got 40 of them that was the top thing. You go to Hamburg, and let's just say it's the same thing. When you come to Fountain Hill, and it was only 32. Well, we still ended up with, like, the same 8 to 10 people that did stuff. So the percentage-wise it was actually a better curriculum until a little later. But I do still think it goes back to we had some really high quality instructors. They made jokes about that.
Well, I'm pretty sure that by the time it was all said and done, within like 5 or 10 years, or 10 years after we graduated, that a majority of us had, I think over 50% of us had some kind of a degree. So that's pretty amazing,
Right, and that's what I mean. Now, we had our share of fuck-ups, of course. I mean, we had the folks that were just, dumb as a bag of limp hair, and, the ones that just basically, I'm glad we've had not many die out of our class, I mean, thankfully. But, it is a small class, so that percentage is still pretty high, But
I was thinking, go ahead, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Was that now?
No. Go ahead. I mean, really, all I was going to say is, but overall, we've been fortunate.
Now, I think you're right. 3 or 4 years later, maybe we may have been the last ones to take the Florida trip for free. We worked in the. Our class did some miraculous things. We that little awning across there between the old high school and the new building there. I say it's new. It was new for us, the elementary school with offices and stuff. We put that there. We raised tons of money to go to Florida. We sold all that. I mean, we had a great time. I mean, that was a free Florida trip for a week back then. It was. I mean, hell, I think I even secured $1,500 to the side and spent all that. So there's no telling how much money in today's dollars was spent on our Florida trips back then. And we were, I think we were, if we weren't the last, there was only 1 or 2 after us, if I recall right.
I honestly think there was only one more, because I know when we went, like you say, it was completely paid for, and we actually carried, let's see, I want to say it was 24 of us, and then you had Coach Gregor, his daughters, so that was 2 more, and it seems like there was 3 chaperones, not counting Jake. You had Miss McLemore, Jake, and it seems like there was 1 more. Anyway, so basically 30 people. The trip was completely paid for. We drove down there in a damn bus, and all we carried was spending money. I mean, we went to Disney World and we went to the beach for 2 days, I think, and stuff like that. We spent almost a week down there, man. But now that was in 1990, so But you're right. Now we busted our ass to be sure we could do that. We did crap that no other class thought about to make money.
Yeah.
To be sure we did. And you're right. We made so much money they put in that covered walkway between the new building and the old building. The cafeteria as such, and the new building, the elementary, the library, the office, and two of the high school actual classrooms. And the high school bathrooms. Don't forget those now.
Yeah.
You walk in that front door. You walk in that front door and you had library, book smell to the right, office and clerical whiteout to the left, and shit directly in front of you, kind of to the 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock position. Water fountains right between them. Get you a big old drink of stinking shit, clear coat books. That was the nastiest water. That was the most disgusting water you could drink because you had all those smells. And who knows who put their mouth on it. Oh, it was so bad, man. Oh, it was bad.
Yeah, it was horrible. Hey, but I grant you this. I think it's probably better than anything we could have done. But hey, man, I appreciate the walk. I appreciate the walk down memory lane. We'll have to go a little bit deeper, go down the memory road for it. People said they like hearing us chaw the fat, so maybe this will give some more insight into where we came from and why we're doing what we're doing. But again, man, I appreciate time with you. Thank you, sir.
All right, man. Have a good one, bro.
You too. Bye-bye.